Hello there everyone, it's the J-Man TurtleMan coming at you with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle episode review. Hey man, it's the J-Man, and we had another new episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles this last weekend on Nickelodeon. It was a continuation from last week's episode, the Super Shredder, and this one was called Darkest Plight. Darkest Plight, a very aptly named episode. This was a continuation from the Super Shredder episode, which is already very dark and grim, and this one also was very dark and grim. You know, Splinter and Shredder have fallen into the chasm of the Undercity, and the Turtles don't know what to do. They have to escape and retreat back to the lair because they are overtaken by Bebop and Rocksteady and a bunch of Foot Elite bots. All the Turtles are regrouped in the lair, and they're trying to figure out what to do and how to go about it. And they don't know if Splinter's alive or not. And Michelangelo stands up and he says, "Well, he has to be alive, right?" And I thought that line captured the tone very, very well, because it's Michelangelo that is doubting, that has doubt whether or not Splinter is alive. And I think that says volumes more than anything else in this episode or the previous episodes. That Michelangelo, the happy one, the one that is always optimistic, the one that nothing can ever go wrong, he's the one that stands up and expresses the doubt of Splinter being alive. So the Turtles resolve to try and see if Splinter's still alive, to hopefully rescue him. So they split into three different teams. Michelangelo and Donatello get their grappling gear and they descend into the pit of the Undercity. Raphael and Casey Jones stand on the cliff of the Undercity in case some of Shredder's henchmen come. And Leonardo, April, and Karai are on the top of the city to battle the Super Shredder, who has survived with Tiger Claw. And they lead Super Shredder and Tiger Claw up to the city streets and have a good battle with them up there. The action in this episode is again really good, coming off the Super Shredder episode, which the action was also really good. These three different groups are having to battle the bad guys. You know, Raphael and Casey Jones have to battle Bebop and Rocksteady. This episode is so dark and depressing that just the little bit of humor that Bebop and Rocksteady bring really make the episode a whole and have it come together to be one really good episode. The part where they're holding hands is really funny, and Bebop is always arguing to Rocksteady that he doesn't know his expressions right, and it's a funny fight, but well done and good action. The Leonardo, April, and Karai versus Shredder and Tiger Claw fight is again really good. Leo gets really hurt. Shredder tries to crush him, and then but Karai versus Tiger Claw was really cool, and Karai versus the Super Shredder is really cool too. We see her fight alongside the Turtles, which I've always wanted since they introduced her, and we found out more about her storyline. That this episode really showed how she's totally changed as a character, which again, my favorite storyline of the entire series so far. Along with the Turtles up in the city fighting all the bad guys, down in the Undercity there's a whole nother storyline going on. Definitely the bigger picture in this episode, and that is the fight between Splinter and the Rat King, who reappears in this episode. I don't want to brag or anything, but I totally called it last week. Going along with this kind of the City at War story arc they have going in the later part of this season, the Rat King reappears, who also first appears in the City at War storyline from the original Mirage comics. And he's there to torment Splinter and mess with his mind, and it comes off as really creepy and grim, and how they get away with some of this stuff by the censors, I have no idea. We find out that Splinter is in fact alive, and he has a broken leg and a fever, and he's being tormented by the Rat King down in the Undercity. And the Rat King is trying to convince him to forget Hamato Yoshi, forget the turtle, forget Tang Shin, forget everything you are, and become what you really are, is a rat. Become a beast, and I am your king, and serve me. Eventually, to drive his point across, the Rat King kind of summons all these rats from everywhere, and he builds up this into this giant rat made of rats, and he's like in the middle of this giant rat made of rats, and it's just rats and rats. In the end, though, Splinter overcomes the Rat King, and he does not give in to his beast desires. He has visions of Tang Shen and the Turtles, and they're celebrating that he's their father, that he is their family. And he says, no to the Rat King, and then he snaps out of it, and he realizes the whole thing was a hallucination the whole time! Just like the City at War storyline from the Mirage comics. Very similar. There's even at one part, the Rat King tries to convince Splinter to eat a rat in the Nickelodeon show, and in the City at War comics, he actually does eat a rat because he's starving, and it's just really cool that they adapted this storyline so well. Thinking about this storyline with Splinter and the Rat King, and he's having these hallucinations, and thinking also about the City at War storyline, there could be a ton of different metaphors for what this really means, for the Rat King trying to convince Splinter to go into his beast-like side. And I was thinking about it, and I think it really means for Splinter, this particular Splinter, to not give up, for him to keep on fighting, because he could easily just give up and die, but there's still things that he needs to keep fighting for, as shown by the visions. There's Tang Shen, he needs to keep fighting for her memory. The Turtles, his sons, he needs to keep fighting for them. For Karai, who finally realizes that Splinter Hamato Yoshi is her father, to keep fighting for them, and so to not give in to the Rat King is to not give in to Splinter's death. Really cool things in this episode. Lots of things I liked. A couple of things I didn't like was that April again kind of comes in and saves the day, uses her psychic powers all over the place. Then the focus shifts to Karai. She calls out Shredder saying, come face me, you need to find a soft spot, and what does she say? You're never my father. She hits him in the heart, like a gross beating heart, and he spews up mutagen and goes like a spasm, and Karai's about to finish him off when Tiger Claw comes and stops him and takes the Super Shredder away, and they have to get back to the lair because Leonardo's really injured. But that last moment with Karai versus the Super Shredder was what I've been looking forward to, was something really, really cool. Speaking of Tiger Claw, something I thought was interesting is at the end of the episode, Shredder demands more mutagen, and he just keeps putting more and more mutagen into him, and Tiger Claw tries to stop him. Tiger Claw runs up, no, you're gonna mess yourself up, and Shredder just throws him back. But it's really interesting that Tiger Claw steps in and doesn't want Shredder to do this, which makes me think that Shredder is going to be his own undoing. He's just going to mutate himself to the point where he just, I don't know, explodes or something. I don't know what. But I feel like he's going to undo himself at the end of this season. I think Tiger Claw is going to be the major villain in Season 5. Just an assumption, but I think Shredder's going away at the end of this season, and Tiger Claw is going to step up and become the main villain of Season 5. Or, I sure hope so, because I do like Tiger Claw as a villain. Darkest Plight. A good episode, I really enjoyed it. Great action, great character development for all the characters, really. They all had their time to shine in the limelight, and Splinter and Karai especially. Dark tones, really kind of melancholy, but with really good values and a good fun, not fun, but a happy ending. And a really well done adaptation of a very classic Mirage storyline that I greatly enjoyed. So, Darkest Plight, I'm going to say 96%, a very solid A. We have another new episode coming up this weekend on Nickelodeon called The Power Inside Her. It says Donatello becomes concerned and decides to test April, only to discover that her psychic powers and abilities are rapidly growing in power. So maybe we'll finally get this whole wrap up to what's actually going on with April and her power crystal thing there. So tune in for that. Thank you guys for watching my episode review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and to keep updated with all my other Ninja Turtle reviews. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the J-Man TurtleMan. So, till next time, I'm the J-Man TurtleMan saying cowabunga.